Morning, folks. Morning. Apologies for being on late, but this thing has been buffering for the past however long. Don't know what was going on there. Uh, Sometimes YouTube just ridiculous. Sometimes. Anyway. Okay. Thanks for that, YouTube. Been waiting for that for the last so many minutes. Right. Morning, folks. Morning. Let's see who we have here. Roxanne, always on time. Morning, Roxanne. Always first. Well, most times. There are my brooms, right? Margaret Thomas, morning. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning to you. Carol Boyce, John, 123, morning. Oriagani, morning. Annette Beard, morning to you. Rukman Gangadi, morning, Rukman. A blessed morning to you as well. Eva Harris, Jennifer Nicholas, Donna Walcott, morning. Margaret Thomas, morning to you. Arlene Lewis, Felix Hospitalis, Leon Graves, morning, sir. Annette Neptune, morning. Lisa Atwater, morning, Lisa. I have not had opportunity yet to congratulate Lisa on being selected as the candidate for Muruga Tableland. So congrats, Lisa. And we know you're going to put some legs on Miss Put Highway between your leg. Miss Green Verbs. Cyril Mayas, morning. Point Kubata Sharon, morning. Yes, Roxanne, I see, yeah, the Express. Trinidad and Tobago's most prominent tabloid. Merle Durant, morning. Denise Bramble, morning, Denise. And Niles, morning. And Listra Sidney, morning to you. Gaylan Jackson, morning, Gaylan. Gerald Pascal Manswell, morning, sir. Chilean Timmerman, morning, Chilean. Alberta Sampat, morning. Patty Kutu, morning as well, Patty. What else we have here? Glenn Richardson, Sedena Kwashi, Arthur Lucian James, Phyllis Farrell, Pamela O'Connor, morning to all of you guys. Alicia Almonde Roshi, morning, Alicia. Morning, Shah. Wazid, morning, sir. This thing just jumped. Claire Carrington, morning, Claire. Linda Supreme, Fred, Holly Legal, Kenneth Gabriel, morning, all of you. On Facebook, we have Marva James, morning, Marva. Claudius Alexander, morning, sir. Gemma White Isaac, morning. Morning, Diane. Patsy Edwards, morning to you. Jennifer Ferran, morning, Jennifer. Marilyn Wanza Cloud, morning. Alison Boyce, Candice Joseph, Christopher Coffey, morning to all of you guys. Morning, Joy Ragunanan, Bernadette Beryl Yates, morning, Bernadette. Joycelyn Raghunath Singh, morning to you. Dexter James, Veronica George, Carol Myers, morning, Carol. Well, it looks like it. Well, I understand we're supposed to have some rain a little bit, Carol. So, Deborah Edgell, Sarah Richards, morning, guys. Marcia Collins, D. Pierre, morning. Sherwin Humphrey, morning, sir. Alison Floyd, morning to all of you guys. Marlene Pantin. What's the time now? It's already late. I'm going to jump into it. So, morning, Desh Rubin. So I think congratulations are in order for Trinidad and Tobago football team, who, based on what I would have seen, I didn't look at the match, but what I would have seen on Facebook last night, I think, well, the last score I saw was 3-1 in favor of Trinidad and Tobago. So a much needed win to avoid relegation. So congratulations to them. And to Coach King, well done. And let's see lots more performances like that, because we know there are lots of people out there who are not rooting for the team. They could tell you everything that's wrong, but when things go right, yeah, that's just a fluke. Yeah, they get lucky. But they wouldn't give the guys on the team the kudos that they deserve. Right? But typical Trinidad, typical. So, where to start? So, as Roxanne said, the Express, making waves with the headlines. And they're doubling down and tripling down. Yeah. So let's now. Let me get this here. Just now. Give me 1 sec. Right. Right. Let me get it here. All right. I just see in this, right? So do I want to read this? No. All right. Forget it. So Ralph Maraj is giving the Prime Minister ultimatum. I don't know who Ralph really is, but anyway, um, giving the Prime Minister 1 month to come clear on his future as leader of the PNM. Former Government Minister Ralph Maraj is giving Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley 1 month to come clean on the future leadership of the PNM. He wants the PM to tell the public why the party's internal election scheduled for next month was suddenly cancelled and be honest when it comes to whether or not he's retiring from politics. Really? Are you Dr. Rowley, father? So if you don't come clean in 1 month, we're going to put him over your lap and cut it tail? Ralph? Are you still a member of the PNM? We know, hardly. So on what grounds do you feel empowered to give the Prime Minister 1 month to come clean? Look, talk about Rowley's departure from the PNM began last Thursday after the PM hinted at stepping down on the final day of budget debate contributions in Parliament. Rowley said he did not know how much longer he had in Parliament. He had run his course and was looking forward to his family at the end of the metaphoric rainbow. Although it was not the first time the PM had spoken of his political departure, more eyebrows were raised when the PNM announced the cancellation of its 51st annual convention and internal election less than 24 hours later. PNM members are tight-lipped about the reason. This led to more questions about whether Rowley was bowing out, and if so, who will be his successor. Speaking on CNC3's The Morning Brew yesterday, Maraj said Rowley's tone of finality has led to further speculation and called on the Prime Minister to clear the air. He said the party's leadership election should be a priority and the membership should decide who they want as their head. Saying Rowley should not decide who will lead the party, Maraj said, I would think that they should try to do this over the next month or so, clear up the situation, make a statement to the country about what the situation is at present. Right now, the Prime Minister is not saying anything about the postponement. That is leading to further speculation. They should make a decision about the way forward, how they are going to manage this transition, because they are clearly in a transition mode as far as the PNM is concerned. How they are going to manage it in a democratic, transparent way so that the people, the members of the party, can have their say rather than having a situation manipulated for the insertion of a new leader, the insertion of new leadership that is going to weaken the party. He added, if it is indeed as it is rumored that Dr. Rowley has a particular choice in mind to replace him to be his successor, then that raises questions. Is he going to continue to head the committee of the party to choose the candidate? Would he then, in that process, not impose his own candidate on the new leader in case it is not his chosen one? Let the people decide. Let the PNM membership decide who they want as their new leader. And it shouldn't be that Dr. Rowley would choose his candidate and try to impose that person by whatever means is necessary. That is not a fair thing to do. Among names being touted as possible party leaders are Energy Minister Stuart Young, Planning and Development Minister Penelope Beckles, Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Minister Amory Brown, Youth Development and National Service Minister Foster Cummings. Also contacted for comment, NTA leader Gary Griffiths said the PNM, they have a degree of discipline where that dirty linen stays inside. This might very well be the reason why they are trying to refrain from having this type of internal election at this time prior to a general election. That seems to be the reason where they're deciding to circle the wagon, work as one solidified group to ensure they can go as one body in the general election. And they would have seen what happened with another political party, where unfortunately the concept of democracy is not alive and kicking. It's as if you have a right to challenge, but if you challenge, you will be deemed as a dissident. Let us remember those words of Gary Griffith, right? Because just in case water more than flour, and let us say that there is a change in leadership of the PNM, prior to the next general election, then desperation is going to set in, and everybody will be coming together, because if in its current dispensation they can't be the PNM, then they know that one of the main reasons why a lot of people might be upset with the PNM is not so much the party itself, but probably they just don't like Dr. Rowley for whatever reason. They find he too rough and gruff. Some people find that he's arrogant, as I saw Incha Ismail put up in a post. Whatever is their belief. Some people have the misguided belief that Dr. Rowley, as they refer to him, is an oppressor, and that the things like the increase in the cost of food and all of that is deliberately Dr. Rowley's fault, and somehow he could control the price of that you pay in the grocery. And anyway, yeah. But unfortunately, because when I look on social media and I see a lot of people putting up videos and doing live and so on, cussing the Prime Minister, and Rowley is the worst, and Rowley don't like black people, and Rowley only oppressing the people, and so on. And the things that they cite as oppression, when you really look at it, Prime Minister has no control over that. But they don't understand that. And you have more platforms that are giving the impression that the Prime Minister has some control over that when he doesn't. And people choose to believe that. They believe that the Prime Minister could drop the price of food, and they want the Prime Minister to drop the price of fuel and continue to give handouts, and in fact increase the handouts like the leader of the opposition is promising to do should she come back into office. All of these things. So there are a lot of people who are opposed to the PNM just because they don't like Dr. Rowley. So if there's a change in leadership, there are some people who might be more inclined to support the PNM. But who the hell is Ralph Maraj to give Dr. Rowley an ultimatum of a month and tell him you have a month otherwise? Really, Ralph? Where you come from? You have... Look, I hope Darian reads that article. I don't know if Darian is in the country, because I think, I'm not too sure. I didn't listen yesterday, so I don't know if he was on. But hopefully he will read that article and address that frontally with Mr. Maraj. The PNM business is not your business. The PNM's business is not your business. Keep out. You focus on Kamla Prasad Bisesa last year in the local government election, when there was Jack is back and Gary and the amalgamation and the alliance. You won your radio program talking about there is hope, and the people feel a sense of hope. When I go to the grocery and I go to the market and I hear people talking, there is this sense of hope. When they hear Jack Warner and Gary Griffith have joined the ranks of the UNC, and people are seeing a new dawn and all of that stupid talk. You focus on that. You supporting Prasad Bisesa to come back as Prime Minister, but will never speak on the fact that you have persons sitting on the opposition bench who should not be there, who have no business being there. You will never write an article about the possibility of a man who is on $1 million bill for fraud and conspiracy being this country's next Minister of Energy. You will never write an article speaking to the fact that the possibility exists that should they come back into office, a man who is currently under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution could be this country's next Minister of Agriculture. You will never write an article speaking to the possibility of a man who was fired from 2 public utilities companies for gross misconduct could possibly be this country's next Minister of Public Utilities. So if when he was a low-level functionary, he could have engaged in that type of activity, what do you think he would do if he's the minister? Right? Not appoint people to boards who he could control. Not see to it that persons get contracts so that he could possibly get kickback. How did he get that position in the first place? How? That he was not qualified for. But I guess the fact that his boy, who is now the Member of Parliament for Couva North, was the vice chairman of TSTT at the time, that didn't play a part in it. Yeah, they just saw his resume and they were so blown away. They say, yes, this man, we need to hire this man, who turned out to be grossly incompetent, right? And crooked, more crooked than Miss Howard Cat. Yeah, but you will never see Ralph write an article about that. Oh, every Sunday, as we will touch on just now, always Rowley this, Rowley that, the Petrotrin sin, diversification, Rowley and Embert, Rowley and Stuart Young. But we'll never put the spotlight on the other side. But as I told some of them what it was, go ahead and put them back into office. And when every Monday morning we have a minister getting fired for some kind of wrong stand-up, don't complain. Because we will remind you. In fact, I'm not even saying we will remind you. Guys, saying if those of you who support the PNM decide to play fast and loose with your votes and who ain't going and vote, and they need my vote. Go ahead. Let them come back. If you believe I will sit down here for another 5 years to talk about them, I'm not doing that, you know. No. I'm not going down that road. Forget that. You have one chance, one job in 2025. That's it. Okay? Just as if next month, Donald Trump loses, that should be the end of him and the political landscape, even though his ego will probably, and the foolishness of the Republican Party, I wouldn't be surprised if it is he come back in 4 years' time at age 82, pushing 83, to try and run again, if he's still strong enough to do it. And the Republican Party will probably embrace him still because he seems to have some strange hold over that party. But I don't think Prasad Bisesa has that stamina. And I don't think the party's tolerance could run another 5 years with her if she loses next year. Right? So, one assignment. No reassignment. But this upstart to come and give Dr. Rowley ultimatum, you're giving him 1 month. Well, let's see what will happen in 1 month if he doesn't. As you say, Ralph, come clean. Let's see what you're going to do. You're going to do? Swim? Stay out PNM business. I see the UNC is also taking some interest in that as well. Could you run Bacchanal now? You know? So they will focus on that to take away from the humiliation that their leader would have suffered in the parliament as a result of the explanation given by the Minister of Finance with respect to the two main things that she focused on when she called her waste of time press conference the other day, to the 400 million and the 50 million. And the minister would have given a comprehensive explanation, as I played for you all a couple days ago, with respect to both sums of money and what they intended for. It has nothing to do with entertainment for the Prime Minister. Nothing. But that ain't stopping the fully dunce from still running with that. Suppose 3/4 of them, 85, 95% of them probably didn't even listen to the wind-up of the minister. All right? So they will claim that they don't know. But the Standing Finance Committee is still ongoing. I don't think the Prime Minister's office has yet been interrogated. So let's see. You know, I'm listening yesterday to, I think the Ministry of Finance yesterday was their turn for questioning. And, you know, Embo don't play. Yeah. If there's one person I like to see interviewed, is Mr. Imbut, right? And he go in for the jugular. Every question they ask, he have an answer to it, right? He know his work. And I'm listening to Dave Tanku, question after question after question, and simple things. When Mr. Imbut gives the explanations, I'm saying, and Dave Tanku is supposed to be the shadow minister of finance, and he doesn't know these things? He doesn't know these things, and you are the shadow minister of finance, sir? Simple things you don't know, and the minister has to be schooling you. I mean, he asked a question about some rent for 15 million, and he noticed that that there was not an allocation for it in the 2024-2025 budget allocations for the Ministry of Finance, and he wanted to know what that is for, and how come they don't have to pay that money anymore, and whatnot and stuff. And the minister had to tell him, well, the Eric Williams Financial Complex, which comprises the Ministry of Finance building and also the central bank, that when that complex was built, the central bank, it was given to the central bank, and it was there was an agreement that the Ministry of Finance would pay rent to the central bank for the building, or lease the building from the central bank. And Mr. Ebert would have indicated that the final payment on that lease took place, I think in September, last month. So the Ministry of Finance now owns that tower that the ministry is in. So the central bank owns their tower, and now the Ministry of Finance, having made that final payment, now owns that tower, which also houses, I believe, the Ministry of Planning as well, right? But the UNC was in power for 5 years. Well, not even 5 years, because this lease payment or whatever it is has been ongoing since those two buildings were constructed. The UNC wind power from 1995 to 2001, the money was being paid. It was being paid then. It's been paid every year since the towers were completed. The UNC wind power from 2010 to 2015, the money was being paid the same way. So it's not this is not something that happened suddenly under the PNM. And he didn't know that, but you are the shadow minister of finance. And then a whole set of other rubbish questions that they come in with here and Kuva North and not Kuva North, sorry, Kuva South. Maybe Kuva North asked some questions, but I didn't see. Couldn't stomach it. Right? And Mr. Imbert had to school them time after time after time. But there are all these rubbish questions that they're asking, wasting parliament time. But let me see when Prime Minister office come up, what they will ask. So I see my good friend. I don't know if he's on now, but I know sometimes he's on because I would see his name pop up and he would make a comment from time to time. Wendell Eversley put out a press release, a media invitation. Demand for accountability and apology from government officials. Dear members of the media, I, Wendell Eversley, national patriot, hereby express my condemnation of the leaders of Trinidad and Tobago. I assert that our nation and its citizens are currently experiencing a significant crisis in statecraft leadership and statecraft diplomacy. I would like to extend an invitation to the media to participate in a press conference scheduled to take place in front of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, located on Abercrombie Street, Port of Spain, on Tuesday, 15th October, 10 a.m. this morning. This conference will focus on addressing the following issues. Call for apology. We are calling on the Minister of Energy and the Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Stuart Young, to apologize to the people of Trinidad and Tobago for recent comments made in Parliament regarding the opposition leader. Resignation demand. We are also calling for the Chairman of the PNM, Stuart Young, to resign as Minister of Energy. Minister of Finance apology. Additionally, we demand that the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, issue an apology for his actions. What actions? Minister of Finance apology. Additionally, we demand that the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, issue an accountability. The focus will be on holding authorities to the highest standards, particularly in light of the total breakdown in our society. This event is crucial for addressing the significant crisis in statecraft leadership and statecraft diplomacy that our nation and its citizens currently are experiencing. Your presence and coverage are vital in bringing these important issues to the forefront and ensuring that the voices of the people are heard. Wendell, where are you going with that? Where are you going with that? You're calling for the minister to apologize and you're calling for the minister to resign. It's either or. You can't ask for both. All right? You cannot ask for an apology because an apology suggests forgiveness and then call for the person to resign. So it's either you want him to apologize or you want him to resign. But you can't have both, sir. Right? Okay? What are you calling on the minister to apologize for? The minister's comments were heard on a hot mic, meaning microphone was on when it was supposed to be off. Statements are made. We don't know what statements are made across the floor from time to time. And certainly, if the minister is of the view that the microphone was off, I am certain, given someone who has visited the Parliament chamber before, the distance between the across the aisle isn't that wide. So even if the microphone was off, I am certain members on the other side would have heard what the minister would have said. Right? It just so happens that Minister Imbert had turned on his microphone to begin his wind-up of the budget debate, and the speaker, there was a changeover of speaker, and Mr. Imbert neglected to turn his microphone off. All right? He neglected to turn his microphone off, and Mr. Young's comments were heard. But I would love for anybody to tell me, over the course of the years, can we say definitively that there have not been statements coming from both sides? We don't know. We don't hear. There's a reason why the microphones are turned off. There's a reason why we are unable to hear these things on the Parliament channel. But of course, there is crosstalk. You recall that's why snake have led for you, why the horses think mouth and all of these things. But if it is, the fact of the matter is, that for those of us, and I saw CNC3 play the clip last night, I'm not surprised. Not surprised that they played that, right? Because they probably find it and have enough talk in the public space. Not enough people talking about that. Not enough people condemning Stuart Young. Maybe people didn't hear about it, or maybe not enough people see it. Yeah. So let us play it on national TV, so everybody, all who want to see it, can see it and hear it, right? Yeah. So the older folks who probably not on social media and therefore they would not have been, they may not be aware of it. The people who are more likely to vote and the people who support the PNM and who we feel, yeah, let's play it on national television for them to hear. But I'm reading Wendell's statement here, and he references, and many of them who have spoken to it yesterday morning, I heard Dale and Tony talking about it, are speaking to the issue of Minister Young was disrespectful to the leader of the opposition. But if one listens carefully to what was said, there was a portion of the comment that was directed to the member for Couva North. So you can't tell me that you find what was said about the leader of the opposition, you find that, oh, that was reprehensible and the minister needs to resign. But you have, so what about what was said with respect to the member for Couva North? We okay with that? Or are we just being blasted hypocrites? Are we being hypocrites? So talk about statecraft leadership and the like. Where going with that, Wendell? We're really going with that. You know what's unfortunate? Stuart Young, I'm not trying to justify, and I don't do no justification. You can call it what the hell you want. Stuart Young has been working his backside off for the last 3, almost 4 years to ensure and to secure Trinidad and Tobago's energy future, right? When at great sacrifice to his family, he had to be hopping on plane, running from Port of Spain to Washington to Caracas, according to Dr. Rowley, doing shuttle work, right? When the rest of them in the bed, enjoying sleep, when they're relaxing at home on the weekend, yeah? Stuart Young up and down, Caracas, negotiating deal. When he in Houston, he in London, he here, he there, doing all of these things at sacrifice to his family. When all you lie down in all your bed or sit down home laughing, and drinking with your families and stuff, right? Because you're on a little break, I know parliament session or whatever it is, whether you're parliamentarian or not. Stuart Young out there. Yes, the man has kids, and all of that. You all ever come on social media and say, hey, let us give Stuart Young a round of applause. For what he has been able to accomplish as Minister of Energy that several of his predecessors were unable to do. He has been able to do in record time. Record time. You ever put out a letter, a statement, calling up a press conference so that you could praise Stuart Young and the efforts that he has been putting out to ensure that 3 years from now, that our country's gas reserve, it is not ours, but our gas production would be at least double or more what it is now. So that all the complaints about how we ain't getting US and we ain't getting US because of the decline in the production of oil and gas and all of that. And when they go to the bank, you can't get 200 US and you can't get 200 US. Yeah, blasted credit card. Come on now, man. I went to the US the other day and spent quite a bit of money and I didn't, you hear me complaining about I didn't get 200 US in the bank? No, I didn't. I had no issues. No issues. But when it is Mr. Young working his tail off to accomplish these things, we are not as ready and forthcoming to give him praise. No, is it? Well, that's his work. He's the minister, that way he's supposed to do. Really? Well, maybe you all should tell Kevin Ramnarine that is his work and that is what he was supposed to do, because he sure as hell didn't do that. And maybe if he had been able to accomplish half of what Stuart Young has been able to accomplish in the last 3 years, the country's financial circumstance would have been much better than it is today. Maybe our gas production wouldn't be where it is today, because perhaps if he had done what Stuart Young has done in the last 3 years, when it is that you didn't have sanctions on Venezuela, and it was much easier then to accomplish what Stuart Young has been able to accomplish with sanctions on Venezuela, then perhaps the country's gas situation would have been much better. And the plants unfortunately, in Point Lisas and so on that are down because of the gas shortage, would have been running for the last how many years? And the country would have benefited from more taxes and royalties if Kevin Ramnarine had done what Stuart Young did. And again, I repeat, it was easier for Kevin Ramnarine because then Venezuela didn't have all of the sanctions and challenges that they have now, right? But Stuart Young was able to navigate that and get us to where we are. And so that we could see 3 years down the road that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And not light for 2 years or 5 years, at least 30 years. So long after Stuart Young has exited stage left from the parliament, long after Dr. Rowley would have left, long after a number of the parliamentarians, perhaps maybe most if not all of them who are there now, are all gone, this country would still be benefiting from Stuart Young's efforts as Minister of Energy. We call a press conference to talk about that. Any press conference to talk about that, to do a comparison between himself and his predecessors? Plural? No talk about that. But we have a hot mic comment that was made, and who knows what other comments have been made over it. Oh, yeah, let me fire Stuart Young. Yeah, well, let's go fire Stuart Young now and replace him with who? Who are you replacing him with? When it is that you have the heads of BP and Shell and Woodside on a first-name basis with Stuart Young, that they picking up the phone to call Stuart Young and ask him, yeah, now you're coming to the conference and wherever it is later this month. Where else you hear that? Kevin Ramnarine can make that boast? Yeah, so fire Stuart Young as Minister of Energy and replace him with who? Who else has the type of relationship that he has with the Venezuelan officials? Who? So that when we want to come and play, we call in for resignation all willy-nilly because, and you think, yes, because this is reprehensible, that type of behavior is unacceptable. Okay? And what are you consider the repercussions of that? And replace them with whom? I ask you. Right? So who is now going to have to form new relationships? When it is that we have the possible next president of the United States, who probably is on a first-name basis with Stuart Young as well. And he can pick up the phone, and these relationships are critical to the future of Trinidad and Tobago's energy sector. Yeah, but we're going to call for him to resign, and he must apologize and resign. Not making sense to you. Wendell is my friend, but sometimes, sometimes I really had to wonder, where you going with that? Where you really going with that? You need to look at the bigger picture. Okay, so something was said. This is not something on the official record of Hansard, as opposed to what Michelle Benjamin did, that she thought it sensible during her contribution to make a statement like that, and it was recorded on Hansard for posterity. It is there. It is forever there. In fact, last night I was looking at the Parliament channel, I think it was, and they were doing an interview. I think it was the Parliament channel, yes, with a young lady who was in the last youth parliament. She played the role of the leader of the opposition. She's a young attorney, and she was making the point in the interview. She said, when the opportunity presented itself, while she's an attorney, was not familiar with the legislative process and debating in Parliament. And she spoke about how she had to look at a lot of the parliamentary sessions and the like and so on, right? And someone like that, so it tells you that every year when you have this parliamentary youth parliament, obviously, that the young people will look to the Parliament channel to get ideas on how to debate. So they're looking at the contributions of the individuals. They will go back and pull up Hansard and see how things are done. And that is going to be there. Stuart Young's comments will not be there. It will not be on Hansard. But Michelle Benjamin's comments will be. And that is the point. That is the issue. Because the sitting was in session when she said what she said. It was not in session when Stuart Young said what he said, because there was the process of the changeover of the presiding officer was taking place. But if Mr. Imbert had turned off his microphone, and what actions are you calling for Mr. Imbert to apologize for? What actions? What did Mr. Imbert do? What did he do? Simply, he made a comment to Stuart Young and he said, boy, what's wrong with you? the microphone on or something like that. But you think this is the first time that there's been comments on either side, probably to that extent? So he can't come and tell me that on the same comment thread, you're upset, he must apologize for what was said about the opposition leader. Kamala Persad-Bissessar needs to conduct herself in a manner that is deserving, right, of respect. Because when she and her minions could disrespect the office of Prime Minister, willy-nilly on a daily basis, when she could take out, mount a stage, a platform, and refer to the Prime Minister as a donkey fool, does she respect the office of Prime Minister? No, but we'll give her a free pass for that, right? Was there calls for her to resign as leader of the opposition and step down as leader of the UNC when she made that reprehensible comment about slave master name? Yeah, there was a whole public outcry about it, but was there a call for her to resign? No, 9-day wonder. It took her 9 days to be upset by Camille Robinson Regis calling out her whole name on the platform. 9 days. And it's only when she decided that she was upset, the rest of the UNC decided they're upset too. Oh, Massa, you upset? We upset. You need to learn to look at the bigger picture. All right? So this nonsense, and Vandali, my friend, if you're listening, because when I was on Synergy, you and Jenny were my two most interviewed guests. And in fact, when I was heading off for vacation, when I thought I was going on vacation from the program for a little bit, you would recall that my choice to hold on for me were you and Jenny, right? So I respect your opinion on matters and your positions and your submissions and certain things. But in this instance, no. I can't support you. No. I will not. This nonsense about calling for Stuart Young to resign. It's foolishness. Foolishness. Stuart Young still has a very critical role to play with respect to what is happening in the energy sector. He is respected in the energy sector. The same cannot be said for the leader of the opposition, who we are told that when she was Prime Minister, would have met with heads of certain energy corporations in a duster coat. In a duster coat and slippers. And a head tie in a hotel room. Is that appropriate? Because I am certain she would have been well informed and well aware that she had this meeting. These people didn't just show up at the hotel and say, we're here to see, we come to see the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Is she expecting you? No, we were just driving by and we thought, we would just stop by and pay her a courtesy call because we heard on the grapevine that she was staying at this hotel. And that is protocol. That is how the heads of energy companies around the world, the largest energy companies around, that's how they operate, right? They just pick up the phone, hey, we're doing around 10 o'clock. Well, I free hand to do. I was planning to pass by hotel so and so. I hear the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is there. So I don't know if you want to join, man. We could just pay a courtesy call, just stop it on unannounced. Yeah, because that's how it operates, right? So you were fully aware that you were supposed to meet with these folks, and she has never denied that. Fully aware. And I said, yeah, let them come upstairs now. Yeah, I just wake up, just roll off the bed. I just put on my duster coat. Yeah, I don't even have the time to put on my face or brush my hair. Just let them come and say, yeah, have a seat. Right? So I imagine she would have had a suite. Otherwise, she would be sitting on the edge of the bed and they're sitting on the couch in the room. That is proper. That is business etiquette. That is how you conduct the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago on the international stage as the Prime Minister, no less. Right? Stuart Young operates so. He understands what it is that he's doing. In fact, as I on that point, let me read this one time. The media wouldn't really focus on this too much. Let me get it here. TNT looks to acquire the Loran gas field from Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago is in advanced negotiations. You hear that? Not embryonic negotiations, not early stage, advanced, which means these discussions have been ongoing for a while to acquire the gas-rich Loran field from Venezuela, Energy Minister Stuart Young has revealed. Young made the announcement during the recently concluded budget debate, which took place in the House of Representatives. This is Sunday's Guardian, right? Express, sorry. The Laurel-Manatee cross-border reservoir was discovered in 1983. 1983, over 40 years ago, and it is now being developed 40 years later, since 1983. Take note of that. I keep saying 1983, I was telling Pampers. 40 years ago, come now, man. Young made that right. The was discovered in 1983 and is estimated to contain 10 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. You know how much is our proven reserves right now in Trinidad? 11.7. 11.7. They said we have enough to last at least, well, the next 12 years. And here it is that we have an opportunity to acquire another gas field that is almost the equivalent of what is confirmed for Trinidad and Tobago. No, 11.7 versus 10. This is just Laurel-Manatee. We ain't talk dragon gas yet. We ain't talk coquina, mannequin, and coconut and ginger. Just this Laurel-Manatee field alone is 10 trillion cubic feet of gas since 1983. When this was discovered, Stuart Young was a little boy in primary school, possibly, when this was discovered. Today he's a big man, minister. So after 40 years, he is now in the process. He has been able to accomplish what several ministers prior to him have not been able to do. Laurel, located on Venezuela's side of the border, is said to comprise of 7.3 trillion cubic feet of gas, while Manatee, situated on Trinidad and Tobago side, is estimated to hold 2.7 trillion cubic feet. 2. On August 16, 2010, the governments of Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela executed a unitization agreement for the exploitation and development of the Laurel-Manatee field. However, by government-to-government agreement dated October 15, 2019, the Laurel-Manatee unitization agreement was terminated, separating the development of the Manatee field from the Laurel field. So on the 15th of August 2010, or 16th of August 2010, who was the Minister of Energy? Caroline C. Prasad Bechan. Caroline C. Prasad Bechan. And no doubt, this unitization agreement that they had come to in August of 2010 would have culminated as a subsequent to works that would have started under the Manning administration, because they came in May of 2010. You can say June, because the election was the 24th, and then a few days in between you had holiday and so on. So between June, July, and the 16th of August, 2.5 months, I'm pretty sure you would not have been able to conclude negotiations, to start and conclude negotiations for the unitization agreement in 2.5 months. So what would have started under the Manning administration would have culminated under them, right? And of course, they would have taken credit for work that they had little to do with. But normal. I continue. In July, Shell Trinidad and Tobago, a subsidiary of Shell PLC, announced that it had taken the final investment decision on the Manatee project. Manatee has a final investment decision by Shell. Or Manatee has taken a final investment decision by Shell in July of this year. That is the single largest hydrocarbon project in decades. And Manatee was complicated because we have to deunitize it from the Laurel in Venezuela. Young said in the House on October 4th. And as the Prime Minister hinted to the population on Friday last week, we are in deep conversations and negotiations to get the Laurel field from Venezuela as well, which is over 7 trillion cubic feet of gas. So they in negotiations, they didn't just say, hey, well, we sort out Manatee. That's 2.7 trillion feet. So that should last us for a few years. So we got there. We could rest on our laurels now. With Manatee and Dragon and Coquina, Mannequin and Coconut and Ginger, we got to go there for a few years. So yeah, nice. We could rock back and drink something. No, they didn't stop there. Stuart Young has seen opportunity and he's going after Laurel. He's in deep negotiations. If the election is called today or tomorrow and the government changes, you feel David Lee could go across to Venezuela and sit down with Nicolas Maduro and negotiate and continue any negotiations? Mr. Maduro said, hold up 1 second. Let me pull out my dossier here and see what your comments have been about me and the members of my government. Hold on. Let me pull out my dossier here. Let me flip through and see what your political leader has been saying about me and my government for the last how much years? We're going back. Oh yes, you are part of that group that supported Juan Guaido for leadership and would have called for my ousting. You want to take a look? You want a copy? David could do what Stuart Young do it. Who else could do it? Wendell, right? So we're going on hold our press conference this morning and we demanded that Stuart Young must resign as minister. Okay, he resigned. Who should Dr. Rowley put? Who should he put? Restart the process, right? Yeah, let's do that. Let's restart the process. Okay, so this new person now has to go and form new relationships with Meg O'Neill and Mr. Austin's church or whatever his name is, and all of these other people. This new person now has to reestablish relationships with Kamala Harris. This person now has to now become acquainted with all that Stuart Young has done. So should Stuart Young, if he resign, sit down with this person now and walk them through? Okay, this is where we are at. This is what was done. Should he do that? Have you really thought this through, Wendell? Come now, man. Ease us up with that, please. Okay? Ease us up with that. Rubbish. Yes, I call it rubbish. My friend, if you're listening, all right. But please. Okay? Hey. Anyway. I try to reach out to Wendell and find out what is really going on because I've seen some things of late that have me concerned. He always says the PNM is the problem, but the UNC is not the solution. Who is the solution, Wendell? Who is the solution? A deep darkness. Ralph Maraj's article in Sunday's Express. Before I go there, in the interest of time, there's something I wanted to touch on, right? So we had a big hullabaloo the other day about a statement that the Hyatt put out on social media indicating that effective November 1st, they would no longer be accepting TT currency. And they would be accepting US and whatnot and the like, right? And there was public uproar, and within hours, Hyatt pulled back the statement stating that it was premature and whatnot and whatever they like. People upset. Oh, Tim, this is Trinidad and Tobago, and the people own the Hyatt, and the people this, and the Hyatt belong to the people, and we build that, and it's we taxpayers' money spent for it. I really want to come and tell you, campaign TT. Okay, I understand the angst of some people, but I just want to say, right? Now, if your argument is that the Hyatt belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, then it means that if the Hyatt earn in US, is the people of Trinidad and Tobago earn in US, right? It's not the Hyatt, because the hotel belongs to Trinidad and Tobago. It is just managed by the Hyatt brand. But the majority of the profits and so on from the entity belongs to the state. That is why the Minister of Finance would have mentioned a couple of days ago, as I played for you all, that in his explanation, Office of the Prime Minister allocation, he would have mentioned that UDCOT was using monies that they get from the Hyatt to pay for certain expenses, the $50-something million that they would have paid in expenses and for certain things with the Office of the Prime Minister, right? Certain projects and the like. And the whole question about this cashless society came up. And again, we know that the leader of the opposition is on public record as stating she's against a cashless society. Philip Alexander has also been talking about that as well. It's interesting that the leader of the opposition only made that public statement after Philip Alexander gave her a list of conditions that she must satisfy in order for his party to support the UNC. So he has conceded, he has capitulated that the PEP cannot win any election on their own, and therefore there must be some amalgamation with the UNC. Yet still, I saw he put out a post yesterday on his Facebook page indicating that they would be doing screening for, I think it's yesterday or today, for Diego Martin West, I think Diego Martin Northeast, and about 5 other different constituencies. Now, understand my confusion. If you are advocating to have some sort of alliance with the UNC, but yet still you are screening candidates, the UNC would have open nominations or for candidates for all 41 constituencies a few months ago, right? And I think if memory serves me correctly, it was the 21st of April they closed off. Persons, everybody who wanted to run for a seat or be considered for nomination had to pay $2,000. So people pay their money for they go Martin West. All of these seats that Philip Alexander is screening persons for. He says he has already selected candidates for about another 8 or 9 seats or so. How is that going to work? Because if you select candidates and the UNC select candidates, are you then going to tell these people that you're now screened and going to have them out on the field working to come and say, well, yeah, what we came to, we are in talks with the UNC and we have decided that we're not going to field any candidates? Or I'm confused as to how that is going to work. But anyway, I raised the issue about this cashless society and what it means. I said cashless doesn't mean non-cash, because you will always have an element of cash in the society for persons who are considered to be non-banked. These are people who don't have bank accounts through no fault of their own. It is because of the very stringent requirements of banks to open an account now. Some people simply cannot meet the requirements. 2 forms of ID, utility bill, job letter, pay slip, because they want to make sure that you're not using the account for money laundering. So if it is that your pay slip says that your salary is $5,000 for the month, they expect to see every month nothing more than $5,000 coming into your account. So if on any month they see $20,000 on a consecutive basis and your salary slip, your job letter says your salary is $5,000, that will raise a red flag and they will report you to the FIU for the FIU to investigate and so on, right? Okay. Now I want to make this point. The leader of the opposition has been talking about no cashless society and thing, and her reasoning that she's giving that we don't want a cashless society is because the government will be up in your business and the banks could control and the government could control the thing and they will know how much money you have in the bank. I mean, come on. Really? Let me tell you the real reason why she's against the cashless society. And the minister made mention of this. That one of the promises that the UNC has been making to persons on the sidelines and so on is that should they come back into power next year, and that is resonating with some people, they will repeal the law that has made cotton notes non-legal tender, right? So if you have the old $100 bill and the old 20s and stuff, it is no longer legal tender. So you could use that as monopoly money now. It cannot be used. But she and her government, her administration are promising, her party, put them in office, and they are going to repeal the law. So all our who have your shoebox with the old $100 bills and the 20s and stuff, you could bring it. Bring it, come, bring it. We will put it in also. You could go in you didn't matter go central bank, you know. You could go in the commercial bank and change it for the new notes. Right? Because, or they might just make it, well, it's now legal tender again. So you don't even need to replace it for the new notes. We will now accept new notes, the polymer notes, and the cotton notes alongside it. So if you have cotton notes, you could go and spend it in the shop and whatnot. And understand that the reason why they're against a cashless society is that if you have a cashless society where, as it implies, less cash, and most people have embraced or adopted non-cash methods of payment, then it is difficult. So when you go to the vendor, you go to any business establishment with all these old $100 notes, some people are like, we don't take cash now. We don't take cash. It's difficult now for you to negotiate that. Because if you're going to the bank with it, the bank will ask you questions. The bank wants to know where you get this $100,000 in cotton notes from. If you go to any financial institution, they will ask questions. They want you to fill out a source of funds, and then they have to send it to wherever for investigation. But if it is that you change the law and you could now use these $100 notes, and it's no longer, it's not a cashless society. So everybody could spend money wherever. They could go here and spend some, they could go in the grocery and spend it. They could go in wherever they want to and spend it, right? Just as they were doing prior to the notes being recalled. And so all who engage in, all who have money in pigtail bucket and who only watching it every day and crying, all this money I have here and I can't do nothing with it. All of them waiting patiently for the UNC to get back into office to repeal that law so that they could now come out with their money. And the $500 million that missing, that is yet to come back in. Now, I'm not saying maybe a small portion of that is legit, but the large portion of it, that all who between 2010 to 2015 was collecting bag of money, brown bag, crocus bag and had it in the house. Because remember, it is alleged that there was a certain former attorney general, recent former attorney general, not in this administration, prior to 2015, who we are told was collecting kickback from a certain lawyer in the UK. That the lawyer used to transfer the money after he got the brief, would send the money to another lawyer, prominent UNC lawyer. This prominent UNC lawyer would withdraw the money from his bank account so it didn't have no paper trail. And then he would pay it in cash to the certain lawyer, the former attorney general. And we would have read in that article where this former attorney general had so much money that at the time he was renovating his house, and after he spent how much millions of dollars on a certain section, and when he didn't like it, he's break it down and let me do something else. I mean, like how that looking. It's not looking how I thought it would look. But I have all these bags of money here, and the only way I can spend it is there. So yeah, break it down. Those styles, I don't like it. Yeah, get rid of that. You remember that? But when it is that you have a cashless society, you can't be doing them thing. Because if you pay the contractor in cash, in a cashless society, how are you spending that? How are you spending that? How are you taking all that money to the bank? Chirrup. So how come you didn't get paid by check? So all the workers, and you had to pay the workers, pay them by cash. Rather than ACH, and they open a bank account and you transfer the money. Well, the boss paying you in cash, so all you hold that. I don't know who they feel they're fooling. No, you ain't fooling me. You're definitely not fooling me. Right? But understand, in a cashless society, you can't have bag of money. You cannot. In a cashless society, if everybody have using card, plastic. Right? A friend of mine recently went to New Zealand and he was telling me he went there with US cash. Right? And everywhere he goes, trying to pay with US cash. No, we don't take cash here. You have a credit card, swipe. So he ended up coming back home with the majority of the US cash that he went with that he thought he would have used. Right? We want to be a first world nation. We want to be a developed country. But rejecting certain things that have now become mainstays or staples of and identified with developed countries. But take note of who. While this government continues to put things in place. So they say, no, they corrupt and they're thief and all of that. But it is this administration that is putting things in place to make it difficult for politicians to thief. No more bag of money. 9 years, you ain't hear one minister accused of being a bag of money minister. 5 years they were in office every Monday morning. Every Monday morning we seen pictures of people leaving apartment buildings in Trin City, who live in townhouse in Trin City, with brown bag in their hand, and they claim, and yeah, well, it had a little lime and I take some food to carry home for my wife. Really? Yeah. That's the story that they gave us. The bag of money sharing. When it is that Dr. Rowley could tell us about an experience he had when he was working in, I think it was Marabella, in the lead up to the 2015 general election. And a man came up to him and telling him that he was one of the bag of money man. He used to collect the money on behalf of so-and-so. And one day he decided to take one of the bags of money. And that was the last job he get. Because the person he collected the bag of money for couldn't do anything. Because if you had threatened him and he had go to the police, he could have go to the police with the bag of money as proof. He have all the details. So you know what? They just tell him, hey, that's the day for you. No more collection. Forget you. And the man said the bag of money, that one bag of money that he keep, was enough for him to build a 2-story house with swimming pool and all of that. And telling Dr. Rowley, come and swim in swimming pool. Come now. Dr. Rowley said that on the public platform. Not one of them ever denied it. Not one of them ever said that was a lie. Right? Because if you talk, we all know who it is. So they hush them out. But in the face of that, you still have people want to say they thief, but they do. They thief, but they do. So it's okay. So long as we get in baby grant, it's all right for them to thief. So they could thief millions and we are happy to get hundreds every month. It's all right. They thief, but they do. They pave road. The road was smooth when they were in office. Under Rowley, every Monday morning you had to be changing tire and changing this part and that part because the road's bad. But they thief, but they do. So it's okay. It's okay. The roads was good, so I don't mind that they're thieving. Never mind the very same road contracts that was given So given out by them to pave the road so the road could be smooth. You ain't care. The cost per kilometer is astronomical. That's how they was thieving. They thief, but they do. And when it is that I can hear men and women have letters, business owners telling me this stupidness. What you think about the PNL government, boy? What you think about this administration? You know, the one thing you can say about the former administration, yes, I know they thief, but they did stuff. And I watching this person and I just saying in my mind, something wrong with you. Something very wrong with you. Big man and woman talking that stupidness. They thief, but they do. But we, the same people who advocating that stupidness, like they talk about corruption and corruption. Don't talk about corruption. The upholder is worse than the thief. And when you could come and tell me stupidness, but the thief, what they do. So we could get them a next chance. So they could thief more. So long as they do. Everybody benefits. How you benefiting? How you benefiting? We have other countries where roads are being paved. And these roads lasting for 10, 15 years. In this country, if it lasts 1 year, you're lucky. Whose fault is that? The people who work in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure and Works and Transport, whose job it is to ensure that the work is properly done, whose job it is to ensure that we get value for money, who receiving a salary every month for that. Are we holding them to account? When it is that a road paved now and in 6 months to a year, the road mash up again and need more paving? Are they doing their jobs or we're not holding them to work with the minister, the government? Look at the state of the road, this government and this government. Right? They thief, but they do. That's what we had to be putting up with. So just to reinforce, when you see the comment to talk, she and Philip doubling down and tripling down, and we don't want a cashless society, and we don't want a cashless society because then the banks could control your money, and they could, if the government wants, they could lock down your money. The government could do that now, but there are laws. The government can't just come and say, okay, lock down this person's money. They could do that if you're owing taxes. They could garnish your account. So any monies that comes into your account would go to the government, right? Until you pay off your debt. If it is the suspect that you're involved in a wrong stand-up, under the Civil Asset Forfeiture Act, also known as the Explain Your Wealth Act, they could lock down your account if they suspect that the money is in your account is ill-gotten gains. But it just can't come just so as the leader of the opposition and those in that party trying to convince people and just lock down your money. Absolute rubbish. Because you have a batch of lawyers waiting to take the government to court so that you could get some money compensation for the inconvenience. But the other reason why it is she doesn't want a cashless society, you know why? It's because their friend, family, and financiers who have businesses and who benefiting, who being paid in cash. You see, when you have, as the Minister of Finance said, when you're dealing with non-cash, the money has to go to your account, so there's a paper trail. So when they have to do their accounts, the bank statements are there to show how much money came into the account. And when, if it is the Board of Inland Revenue needs to do any sort of auditing, right? Then there's a paper trail so they could go through. But when you're dealing in cash, there's no paper trail. There's nothing to show that you received any money. So all of them who own apartment buildings all over the place, and the tenants pay them in cash every month, right? And they have 10, 15, 20 apartments collecting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month per tenant in rent, collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in rent. And there is no record of that money. No record. No. You could deposit it on my account. They don't want that. They don't have official business accounts. They have personal accounts. Put it in my personal account. Or pay in cash. Right? Or write a check so I could go and stand up in the line in the bank and cash the check. That's what they want. But cashless? No, we don't want that. We want cash. This money must be under the table, under the radar. That's when you go to some of these places to buy stuff, they're telling you, here, what now? If you pay in cash, we give you a discount. And they give you a handwritten bill. Go with that. So that receipt book, the accountant ain't ever seeing that. So there is no record of that transaction ever having taken place. And they have the money stored wherever, and they're spending it because in a cashless society, you could go anywhere, everybody taking cash. Sorry, in the cashless society, you can't do that. Because people, we don't take cash here. Now we ain't taking cash here. You know why? Because in the cashless society, you have to spend money to hire these security companies to come and pick up the money to drop off in the night safe in the bank. If you have checks, but you could go and do that because if they hold you up and take the check, there's no benefit to them. They can't cash the check because it's not in their name, and you could just call the person who issued the check and let them know that we had a robbery. The check that you gave us was stolen, and so we're just letting you know so you could cancel that check and issue a new one. But when it's cash, you had to pay for that service. So who complain and stupid talk about when you're in a cashless society and you had to use your bank card and the bank. I keep seeing this example. Several people talking about if you use a $50 bill and you go in the restaurant and you use the $50 bill and then the $50 bill is used again and again the value remains the same. But if you go to if you're using your card and then you swipe your card for a transaction and a percentage of that money goes to the bank and every transaction rubbish. The banks charge you a fixed service fee every month to maintain your account, which includes the use of your card. There is no additional charge for every transaction if you use your card. Save and except if it is that you use your card in another bank's ATM to withdraw money, there's a links fee. But if you're using your card for normal purchases and so on, there is no additional charge for using your debit card. That money is covered by your service fee, the $15 or $20 that you're paying every month. But if it is you decide, nice me and anything now, I go in the bank and take out my money. Guess what? The bank's still charging you just for your money to pass through. So your salary pass through the bank, and as soon as it come in, you go in the bank and take it out. That doesn't negate the bank from charging you the service fee. If you don't leave enough money in your account to cover that service fee, the bank is still going to pull it and then charge you $34.50 as an overdraft fee. So you're owing them $34.50 plus the service fee of the maintenance fee, the monthly fee of $20. So your account negative $54.50. And whenever your salary comes into the account, the bank pull the $54.50 one time. And whatever is left is what you get. So there's no way negotiating around the bank. Right? So this dotage talk about every time you swipe your card, you have to pay a fee. Nonsense. Nonsense. But pay a fee if you anyway. I'm gonna leave that there. But just take note of that, right? When they want to talk about Rowley, say the rich must get richer. And Rowley supporting the rich must get richer because when the rich get richer, they create opportunities for the poor. Rowley say that. Rowley said nothing wrong with the rich getting richer. He never said the rich must get richer. Anybody who is rich, when you go into business, that is what you want, to get richer. Nobody goes into business to live paycheck to paycheck. So miss us with that nonsense talk. Ain't fooling me with that, you know. But I just want you all to take note of who really trying to make the rich richer, right? And how they plan to do it. While the government is creating opportunities for every and any citizen to get into business and to become rich. The UNC trying this. What they're doing? We're going to cut tax, corporation tax from 30% to 18%. So that you could keep more tax money. But you know what they're not talking about? You ain't hear them say, we will reduce income tax. No. They're reducing income tax that you, the small man, paying. No, they're not reducing that. You know what they reduce? Yeah, the taxes that the businessman paying. We're going to cut that in half. This administration gave you 3 increases in personal allowance. As I had to point out to one of the fully dones, one who goes by the name Shane Gopi the other day. Just a couple days ago. Right? Because they posted up, I think it was the CNC3 had posted up on their Facebook page a question about if you think Dr. Rowley should step down or whatever. And the individual said, his comment was, yes, he should have stepped down a long time. Between 2010 to 2015, things was better. And the cost of living was lower. And you had 7,000 food items that had no VAT on it. And you were paying less money at the pumps. And the roads was better. And he gave me a whole list of things that was better. And I pointed out to him, I replied, and I said, but at least under Keith Rowley for the last 9 years, your personal allowance is 90,000 as opposed to 60,000 under Kamla. Under Kamla, you had 2 ferries that were limping. Under Keith Rowley, you have 4, 3 of which are brand new, right? Under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the minimum threshold for stamp duty for first-time homeowners was 850,000. Keith Rowley increased it to $2 million. All of these little things that they tend to overlook Under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, VAT was 15%. Under Keith Rowley's 12.5%. That 2.5% makes a very big difference depending on what you're buying and how much of it you're buying. But they don't consider that. So then he decides to reply to me to tell me, well, he studied economics at university. I said, well, all right, I catch a bright one. But then when I continue to read after that statement, yeah, it's like disappointment. Because he comes to give me an example to say that increase in personal allowance is of no benefit to the public servants, because the average public servants earning $6,000 a month, which is $72,000 a year. And therefore, that increase doesn't help them. And I had to point out to him, well, the same public servant who between 2010 to 2015 was earning $6,000 a month, when your personal allowance was $60,000, that public servant had to pay $3,000 a year in taxes, right? The extra $12,000 beyond their personal allowance, 25% of that was going in tax, $3,000 a year. Because Keith Rowley and Imbert increased the personal allowance to $90,000, that same public servant no longer pays PAYE. So the $3,000 that they were paying in taxes under Kamla, they get to keep. So I want to ask him, which one better? 3,000 less in taxes, income tax for the year, or a couple $100 that you're saving on some food items? Because she removed that on 7,000, but they can't tell me how the 7,000 food items are. And I pointed out to him further that whenever Leroy Batiste and his executive decide to accept the 4%, right, that same public servant who earning $6,000 a month, when back pay is paid, he will get to keep a bigger portion of the back pay. Because if he earning $6,000 a month, which is $72,000 for the year, and if his personal allowance is $90,000, it means he has wiggle room of between $16,000 to $18,000 still on personal allowance. So that if his back pay is $15,000, he pays zero tax on that back pay. But when his personal allowance was $60,000 under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, if she had paid the back pay for the 14% increase in salary, a big piece of that back pay would have gone in taxes, right? But no kudos, thank goodness, Coleman Burt increased personal allowance so that when he paid the back pay that was accrued because of Kamla 14%, the same public servants, some of them the ungrateful public servants, would have benefited and paid less taxes than they would have paid on that money if it had been paid under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. But no kudos for that. They don't study that. Yeah, but after that, he disappeared. All the economics he studied, I tell him, I said, well, like you were sleeping in school, in class, when you were studying economics. Yeah? Still waiting for him to reply. He just disappeared. Okay? So, to the public servants, take that into consideration now. That whenever Leroy decides to sign off on the 4%, and you all get your back pay, Lord knows whenever that will be, take note. You'll pay less taxes on your back pay than you would have paid under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. All right? Let's give an example. Given it before, but sometimes it would repeat it. So a public servant who would have been earning, let's say, $10,000 a month. Right? Under Prasad Bisesa, you would have been paying $15,000 a year in income tax. Under Kid Rowley, you're paying half of that, $7,500. So you're saving $7,500. Right? I know what that works out to, that savings. That additional $625 a month that you're getting to keep in your pay on your salary, that's 6.25%. So when you add the 4% that the government is offering, plus that 6.25% increase you got on your salary as a result of an increase in your personal allowance, you actually got a pay raise of 10.25%, not 4. You ain't counting the 6.25 that you get through personal, through your personal allowance increase. That is a problem. Well, you need to check that. That constituted an increase too. Is additional monies you're getting to take home. So even if the government had given you a pay raise of $625 to take home, what's the difference between a $625 pay raise and a $625 that you're getting from personal allowance increase? Is an increase. But nobody not talking about that. So you really get 10.25%. Well, you ain't get 10.25 because Leroy won't only get it 4. Right? But study that now. Do the math. Sit down and consider that. And with respect to this, last before I open the lines, we're going to talk about Ralph another day. I see they're making a big thing about the Guyanese president announcing that every household is to receive 200,000 Guyanese dollars. Household. That's important, eh? Not every individual. But they say, oh, if you see them, if you see the fully dance, you hear them. The waterfront elk. That is president. Right, Rowdy can't do that. Every household, not every citizen. So if you had 10 people living in your household, it's only 200,000. If you have 2 people living in your household, it's only 200,000. Not everybody in the household getting it. So this great thing. And that 200,000 works out about 6,500 TT dollars. So the same public servant. So when all they want to praise Irfan Ali for that, and oh yes, that is thing, and they use that. Miss me with that. That is a one-time payment. It's not every year. It's a one-time payment per household. And then I saw a video where somebody from Guyana was talking about how they're going to arrive at a household, right? But that we can talk that for another time. But needless to say, the public servant who earning $10,000 a month, right? Just remember, for the last 2 years or so, since your personal allowance was increased to 90, every year the government has been giving you an extra $7,500 in tax savings. And it's not a one-time thing. Every year you have been getting that. Okay? So it means since 2016, when personal allowance went from 60,000 to 72,000, the government has been giving you all additional monies. So if you want to beat it, 6,500 TT, 200,000 Guyanese dollars, yes, that is thing. Let us applaud you finally. A one time for a household. One time. Who gets any money? How are you deciding which household? Are you giving it to who? That going to cause bacchanal and fight. What you go see how many families will mash up because of that good gesture. But and see. Yeah? How they deciding which member of the household going to collect it? And whose name the check going to come? What are they going to say? Well, that 10 of us living in South Yard, they divide 200,000 by 10 and give everybody 20,000 Guyanese dollars. That's what they're going to do? Rubbish. So if it is that you have 3 people living in your household and everybody earning over $7,500 per month, over the last couple of years, the government would have given each person in that house savings of $7,500 for the year. You understand? And therefore, multiply that by 3. So households getting 20-something and 40-something and all kind of set of money every year from the government going forward. So when all they want to praise Irfan didn't increase personal allowance in Guyana. He didn't cut taxes in Guyana. Understand? So miss us with that BS, please. Okay? I'm going to take this call here. Yes. Bunch of ingrates. They don't talk about that. Exactly, Sean. Sean Ziba says the Guyana Prime Minister is trying to buy votes. If Dr. Rowley and Mr. Imbut had done something like that here, you know what I say? And it's interesting to note Guyana's election is next year, but it had nothing to do with election. No, Irfan Ali is just being generous and he wants to share the country's wealth with the citizens. But had that been done, in Trinidad, I know what I said? Rowley trying to buy votes. You feel if Mr. Imbut come and announce now that he given every citizen or given each household a piece of money. Anyway. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Are
morning.
You hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Very good. Very good. I just want to make a few comments.
Go right ahead.
On your original topic, your first topic this morning, on this character called Ralph Maraj.
Yes.
First of all, as I shared with a friend of mine, I just couldn't understand how a media house could seek out the opinion of someone who hates PNM and who hates Dr. Rowley even more than he hates the PNM. What validity do you expect to get from requesting the opinion of someone who hates a particular regime, the ruling regime and its leader? What level of balance and fairness and objectivity do you hope to get? You're pushing an open door. You know that Maraj hates Dr. Rowley.
Yes.
What do you expect him to say? You're playing around in baby mess. What do you expect to get from him? First of all, in case people probably knew or may have forgotten, or there may have been people who don't know, who didn't know at all. Let me just remind them of some of Raj Maharaj's absurdities. First of all, this statement by Bissetta, referring to Dr. Rowley as Oreo and Black Man. Do you know, I wonder if people know that on Darian's program on afternoons, do you know that when Darian asked him, Ralph, did you, what you think of that statement by Bissetta in denigrating Dr. Rowley by referring to him as Oreo and Black Man? What do you think about that? You know what Maharaj's response was? Hear this. That's a metaphor. Nothing wrong with that. That's a metaphor. That's an extended metaphor. That is hyperbole. Those are his words, eh? Hyperbole. Now, this idiot, you see, as a friend of mine who's no longer with us, who used to describe that kind of thing as a diarrhea of words. A diarrhea of words. What you telling me dotishness about hyperbole? You are really an apology for a former English teacher. Yes, it is a figure of speech, but the teachers would be at pains to advise students to be very careful about using hyperbole. Be careful about that in your speaking and in your writing, because it is a prejudicial statement. It is an amplification of the truth. You don't advise children. You could tell them what it is, but you discourage children from using hyperbole because it could lead to misrepresentation of information, maliciousness, and scampishness, and downright dishonesty. You can't come on the radio and talk about, oh, that's hyperbole. You want to show off with the word? Well, let me tell you that you have been miseducating people's children by advocating and supporting the use of the word hyperbole, Mr. Idiot. I'll leave you there with that. I'll leave you there with that. Secondly, on the issue of Section 34, when everybody knew of the absurdity of it, you know what this man said in a column in the Sunday Express? You know what he said? The whole Parliament agreed with the legislation. If that isn't the height of dishonesty and scampishness, I don't know what is. Yes, the Parliament, both houses agreed to it, including this independent bench. They agreed to that, but with certain conditions being put in place before you even contemplated Section 34. And given that undertaking, both houses, both opposition, PNM was opposition then, and independent then said, okay, we agree, we accept that you could pass the legislation, but do not interfere with Section 34. Don't touch it. You need more courthouses, you need more marshals to police the system. It's a very intricate and detailed situation and touchy. Do not touch it until certain things have been put in place. Because when behind the backs of the Senate and the lower house are gone and passed the legislation, the dead of night, Friday, the 31st of August 2020, unknown to the Parliament. Unknown to the Parliament. That is what she did. And you know what this wretch came in the Sunday Express and said? Parliament went to sleep. Just like Daily Now. The Parliament went to sleep. The Parliament went to sleep. The whole Parliament, this Maharaj, the whole Parliament supported Section 34 just to bolster the dishonesty of his leader. That is what he did. And as I come to the end of my contribution, let me just say this. As you well know, Dr. Rowley for him is the most crass, most crude, most loud, most vulgar, most low-class person ever in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Has he ever written a column on Anna Roberts or David Naked? Anna Roberts? You want to get a job in the government, you have to get Rowley pom-pom. Yeah, Anna Roberts. never wrote a column on that. Never had a word to say about that. Naked, insipid Jacka as former President Weeks. He ever said anything about that? Not one damn word. Not one damn word. Monilal, the Kublal Singh family, they lined up in the road like a bag of alu. They behaving like a cult. I hope I pronounce the word right. This is Monilal on a political platform in Penal, Tulsa Trace, 2012. This is Monilal. Ralph Maraj ever wrote anything about that? No. Any criticism of any of those atrocities from those fellas? No.
Nope.
Never. This is the Ralph Maraj for you, who the Express and CNC3. That is the go-to man for them. That is the go-to man for them. You see? But I understand him. I know what it is. Now he likes what he call big thing and aggrandizement. He likes aggrandizement, and that is at the root of his hatred for Dr. Rowley. When PNM won in 2015, notwithstanding his arrogance and his hubris, he felt that by divine right, he should have been he should have been called up by Dr. Rowley, given a senatorship, and given a plus cabinet position like the one he held in the 2 administration. So he could go all about the world in the UN and gallery. He got nothing from Dr. Rowley. And that is at the root of his hatred for Dr. Rowley. There are people who would disagree with me, but how does one explain the ongoing consistent attacks on Dr. Rowley? Why? Why? It has to be something personal. Saying something to the contrary, it must be something personal. And I adduce that this personal thing has to do with the fact that Dr. Rowley did not give him anything when he led the PNM to victory in 2015. That is the reason. And finally, let me just say this. Let me just finish and tell you this, Ralph Maraj. When Patrick Manning was forced to put your sister under house arrest, it was not Dr. Rowley as Prime Minister who ordered that your sister be put under house arrest. It was Patrick Manning. It was Patrick Manning. It wasn't Keith Rowley. It wasn't Dr. Rowley who put your sister under house arrest. It was Patrick Manning. So, Mr. Ralph Maraj, you have been exposed, you have been called out, you have been found out, you have been tarred and feathered and skewed. We know you, we understand you damn well. Thank you, Mr. Roman.
Thank you, sir. Well said, as always. As always. Right, let me just get this here. So, let me get this here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rumi.
Morning, sir.
The last time I called you, I mentioned to you about the gentleman they call Joseph Goebbels.
Yes.
The man who coined the phrase, if you tell a lie often enough, eventually people are going to accept it as the truth. Remember I spoke to you about that?
Yes.
Now, if you heard the Prime Minister in his budget contribution, you would have heard he mention that there is a similarity between our opposition party and a particular party up north. Now, he didn't mention the name of the country involved, nor would I. But we both know exactly who he's speaking about. Right. Now, what I see as the similarity between the two is the fact that the chief executives of the both parties are incompetent. They cannot. They haven't a clue how to deal with certain situations. Although I believe our opposition leader is in a stronger, ignorant position. Because you would notice during 2010 to 2015, her statement to the public is always, I've been advised. And she was quite correct. She has never made a decision on her own. If you remember the incident with the marijuana, Jack Warner told us that she asked him after he called her if she should have resigned. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So by virtue of being incompetent, they become unable to deal with the situation, so they resort to lying. You understand? Well, in this case, the chief executive of North, he is a professional, he's a class by itself, so far as lying is concerned. But what has happened is this: they have resorted to lying, making mention of situations that could be easily debunked, which means they start talking a load of spit. You understand? And that alone shows that they are not capable of being in position of any authority. Because it means that they are going to make a mess, brother. And I hope that Trinidadians are seeing that. Because all you need to do is to go back to 2010 to 2015. Listen to the people who were involved. Listen to Jack Warner. Jack Warner told us that the party the government is now being controlled by a cabal.
Yes.
A small group of individuals. And they were the ones, like volunteers waiting on a particular animal or whatever, prey, that would become available so they could just swoop down and take everything they want. And I have a feeling that if we ever put ourselves in that situation again, this time we'll pay dearly for it. Because I don't think, although I strongly believe, I don't think the present opposition leader would last out a 5-year term. You understand? So with that, I hope Trinidadians know what they're doing. Because I have accepted the fact that sometimes in our situation and many other political situations, you don't only have to vote for a party. There are instances you vote against another party. You understand? You may not be in favor of one, like how some of the Republicans are saying about Harris. They are saying now about Harris that they may not agree with everything that she says. But when they put up the two between Harris and Trump, they recognize that Harris is the one that has the American interests at heart. So although some people might say, well, okay, you hold your nose and make a choice. That is what we may have to do in Trinidad and Tobago. Because listen, like Donald once said that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a vote. I believe the same thing could happen in Trinidad. There are some people out here, but they will take anything from the opposition. They may see, I've already said something. If the political leader of the opposition were to be walking down Frederick Street and get a call of nature and relieve herself in the center of Frederick Street, her supporters would say it's the government's fault, they were supposed to have a toilet there. Hello, have a good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I like that one. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's amazing about the UNC. They're always so self-righteous and sanctimonious, but they invent sin. You always know who to step down. But when you have sour-faced David Nackett there, who brought a woman into disrepute by what he said, and Ina Roberts in a disrepute with other people, how come it's not wrong? Where's Ralph Maraj? Why is he silent? Ralph, you're toting too long. When older man now, you're going to damage your spine with the boulders on your head, on your shoulders. Let it go. Your face is showing how bitter you are. You get rejected. An adult will take rejection and see, what have I done wrong to be rejected? You're not doing that. Let the past go. Ralph, you're growing old, but have you grown up? Your body in the grave and your mind in the grandfather's backbone in there. What is wrong with you people? You want a party who rejected you. They were perfect when they love you. But now you hate them. You have become a bitter excuse for a man. Don't want to see what the Glen Hamada saying. Who wants to Sukabi? You saw it?
No, I didn't.
And it's such a joke, eh? It's a joke. She put tatas on Facebook, eh? Took offense, right? She never called your name. He took a page from Bamboo Man. He exposed himself. And I find for the politicians, you have yet to grow up. The politicians, eh? If you call me a dog, you know what you're now. But when I bite you, dog, and I go roof first, I'm a dog. You know, that's what, when before the praise, have you Father God said to thee? Lord, I speak well over everyone on the line. God, I speak over everyone's salvation, healing, miracles, open doors, Father. God, we bless the PNM government. God, we bless this land. We speak well over Mr. Rowley and every member cabinet and their family, Lord Jesus. God bless them as he goes to and from to the Lord Jesus. God, hide him on their blood and come your kingdom and be done your will in this land. Come your kingdom, be done your will in the government on everyone on this line, every caller, listener. Just name, amen, Dama Gonda, have a good day.
You too. Roxanne, don't call him out. Don't call him out. 7701763. Winston Bachelor says Stuart Little knew that the mic was on, but still said what he said because he knows he is covered by parliamentary privilege, which means he cannot be sued for it. Winston. Oh gosh. Put on your thinking cap now. Too early in the morning to be talking rubbish. It has nothing to do with parliamentary privilege. You just joined the chat. Did I not mention earlier? For those of us who have experienced being in the parliament chamber, the distance between the government bench and the opposition bench is about 2 to 3 feet. So it means even if the microphone was off, Ratiram and the rest of them would have heard everything Stuart Young was saying, right? He said it for them to hear. The microphone was supposed to be off, so the members of the public were not supposed to hear the exchanges between members. We don't know what was said on the other side because their microphones was off. So it has nothing to do with about parliamentary privilege and all that foolishness. Come now, man. You serious? The man said it for them to hear. Good grief. Think. But, you know, anyway. Clearly, Sarai doesn't have his thinking cap on. I mean, oh gosh. Talking about what Rowley have lied about everything and still you support him because that's your party. Really? What did Dr. Rowley lie about? What did Dr. Rowley lie about? Did you hear all of the lies that your leader, Winston, told during her response to the budget that Mr. Imbert had to come and debunk on Thursday last week? Did you see how it is he exposed the stupidity of your leader, Winston? All everything that she said, the government said that that revenue is only 53 billion, but it's actually going to be 65 billion because the minister borrowing 12 billion. And the minister had to point out to her that borrowings is not revenue. And as he said, if borrowing was revenue, he would have posted a budget surplus every year. Look how he rubbished the argument and asking, who wrote that for the leader of the opposition? You have Dave Tanku, who is supposed to be an economist, and allowed Kamala Persad-Bissessar to stand up there for 3.5 hours and talk rubbish and embarrass herself. Whoever wrote that for her did that deliberately. Because I refuse to believe that you have somebody that Kamala has somebody in her office who is receiving public monies, right? Because she has a staff that is paid for by the parliament. I refuse to believe she has somebody who's so dotish. Anyway, Mr. Chance. Mr. Chance, morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
I am good, and yourself?
One day at a time, sir. One day at a time. So let me start by saying, as a senior citizen at SE, not a legal SE, I want to tell you, I don't want to this age and maturity. I'm not going to be distracted by vendor levels. Not for time. I don't have half a second. There's absolutely no relevance. I'm a little less so without the right. I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why. The truth is that we need money to run this country. After all the old talk and everything that everybody says, all the barbs and so going around, to run this country, we need money. We pay $1.9 billion every month to pay wages and salaries of the officers. You know that? Sir? We pay $480 million a month for social welfare. Sir. I keep saying that all the time, and I'll tell you why I'm saying it today. You know, beginning this month, the month of October, the work done by Dr. Raul and Mr. Stuart Young will be actually actualized. The restructuring of Atlantic Energy, the rewards, the money coming from that started on the 1st of October this month. The negotiation, the change of strategic approaches, the change of shares and all of that with respect to the 4 trains in Atlantic Energy. Now, money is flowing to the treasury from that restructuring of Atlantic Energy. And that is going to contribute to paying all the public servants, to paying my sister and all the people who use pension and disability card. That is how we get the money. So when they're around, yes, a little bit, but the core issue is this. And it starts effective this month, October. We're in October now. So let me just add what I mean by that. Previous to the restructuring and the renegotiation and so on, Trinidad and Tobago, let me say to you, Trinidad and Tobago had 10% share in train 1 and 11% share in train 4. Okay? We had nothing at all, no stake in train 2 and 3. Based on the negotiation, the restructuring. Trinidad and Tobago now have stake in all 4 trains. And together with the renegotiation, we are going to get significantly increased revenue from Atlantic LNG. But what is interesting to me as a citizen, do you know that the opposition leader who is aspiring to become prime minister does not have a clue about the relationship with Atlantic Energy? He didn't know that. The media exposed some of that. He was not aware. And that brings you to the point. How could Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar be the prime minister when the lifeblood of the economy's energy, when the spinal cord of the economy's energy And this lady is unaware of what is happening at Atlantic LNG. That's energy. There's a report that Mrs. Bissessa never chaired the subcommittee of energy. How, Mrs. Bissessa, going forward, all the things that are happening with respect to energy, how Mrs. Bissessa could lead this country at that time? Those are questions that as a citizen, I have to ask. She does not seem to be fully grasped of the spinal cord, the lifeblood of what runs this country. Mr. Manning told us he lacks the competence, I just showed you there, and the acumen, skills to run the country. Let me repeat that, Mr. Manning said he lacks the competence, and we've seen it now. If she does not have the competence to be fully schooled on the lifeblood and the spinal cord of where we get money to run this country, where's the leadership going, sir? And those are my concerns this morning. As I said, I will not waste too much time on the distraction because I know my sister needs a pension. I know my cousin, my families who are working in the public sector depend on their pay every month because they have to pay mortgages. And so we have to get money to pay that. So when I see that headline, effective October, the restructuring of Petrogen comes into line, I give an applause because I know that their money is assured in some way. Thank you very kindly, Government.
Thank you, sir. That is the important issue. All right, so I'm seeing here in The Guardian, they finally decided to reach out to Nunes Teixeira for her comment with respect to the PNM's decision to postpone, I would use the word postpone, not cancel, the convention and the internal election. And again, I need to keep stressing for these clueless people who should know better. The position of political leader, chairman, and general secretary were not up for contest in this internal election that was due to take place next month. So all this thing about Rowley running scale, miss us with that, no, man. That demands position was not up for grab. That is a 4-year position. The PNM had internal election 2 years ago. He still has another 2 years. But Nunes Teixeira coming to talk nonsense here about people have issues with Stuart Young's race. Really? Who has issues with that? You? I don't know yet. Anyway, we will discuss that. Hello, good morning. Morning, Sina.
I wouldn't even bother with those people, because I don't know why they're so up in PNM business. And if you feel to postpone it, that has nothing to do with the running of the government. That is PNM's business. It's so fast. But I want to say the behavior. I want to talk on the incident with Mr. Young. What has he said under his breath? If it worked at what he does say on the feet, you remember I said the last time I spoke to you that I find some them the speaker should, you understand?
Yes.
Really take them, bring them to book. You could remember, I can't remember the incident now. What was it that they displayed so bad that I thought that they would have take them to the privileges committee? Remember the thumping of the death and the breaking down of the death and the president was on her feet when they didn't want to sit down and they keep talking and everybody was in an uproar. What it was about again?
That was on when they had the impeachment for the president.
Or it could be. I'm trying to remember what that behavior and what they were going on with and all what was said. Worse than what Stuart Young said under his breath. Let them give me a chance. Let them say what that as a fee. You understand? And I don't know why people feel that when they hear she talk about money, the opposition leader, that will be true. Where you getting that money? Where is she getting that money? Money you ever see in this Trinidad and Tobago here anywhere in the world, money falling like manna from heaven. if you're going to stop these taxes and you're going to stop that and you're going to do the other, where are you getting money to pay the people
Yes.
to run country into train wreck again and pay out money and then leave the billions for the next government coming to have to pay for the whole term? That is what will happen. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Everybody look forward.
Oh, God. Yeah, former Finance Minister Karen Nunes-Teixeira yesterday confronted the contentious notion that Young would find it difficult securing leadership because the PNM is perceived as an Afro-Trinidadian party, noting that the United National Congress was seen as the Indo-Trinidadian alternative to the PNM. Nunes-Teixeira noted that some within the PNM view Young, who is of Asian descent, move. Let me just get this back here. These ridiculous ads. So give me 1 sec here, folks. You see this? Oh boy. Yeah. Guardian just on a roll today. Young in hot water for salacious comment in Parliament. Hot water from who? Energy and Energy Industries Minister Stuart Young is facing significant backlash from the public following a controversial hot mic incident in which he was heard making salacious comments. The situation, right? As Ford prepared to transition to House Speaker Bridget Anizet, George Imbert returned to his seat. At that moment, several UNC members, including Opposition Leader Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Oropuch East MP, Rural Munilal, Khadija Amin, all of them stood up to leave the chamber, leaving only a few opposition members behind. Young then criticized the departing opposition members. Following was the conversation recorded. All earlier go, he would run girls now for all earlier in the back room. Can't use the PTSC buses anymore. They go bring the girls for all earlier now, including Kamla. Call me, but you go in and use the bathroom, she go in and use the bathroom. You know, and the Guardian decides to put verbatim everything that Minister Young said. Former PNM Finance Minister Karen Nunes-Teixeira was among those who condemned Young's inappropriate language. After the video was circulated on social media, she noted the behavior seemed to mirror that of his political leader. How did I know she was going to say that? He is a protege. He has been mentored by the Prime Minister. He displays the same attitude, the crassness, if I may be so bold, and a certain level of vulgarity that is unbecoming of a leader, but consistent with the current Prime Minister. But consistent with what the current Prime Minister has displayed. His behavior and his conduct, which really does him no good and doesn't reflect well on him, is pleasing to his Prime Minister because his Prime Minister has made very vulgar comments and very unbecoming comments in the past that Mr. Stuart Young seems to have decided that is going to be his modus operandi. Karen Nunes-Teixeira is seemingly the female version of Ralph Maraj. Too thin, right? But we thought that Dr. Rowley would have called her back like he would have called certain other members back, you know, from the Manning administration of which she was a part. And because that didn't happen, she seems to be too thin, right? You ran for leadership of the party and nobody wanted you. You got rejected. You got a few hundred votes. So relax yourself now. You are no longer a member of the PNM. You left the PNM and you went and you are now the deputy political leader of Hope. Hopeless. Stay in your lane. What the party that you are now the deputy political leader of, what you all doing? Talk about your party. You have people resigning, members of the executive resigning because you are going nowhere and doing nothing of substance. Come on, ease us up with that now, Karen. Please. Let's do this. Talk about the PNM is perceived as being an African party, and so therefore that disqualifies Stuart Young. So the party is happy to receive votes from non-Africans, but that is about it. Non-Africans must not aspire to leadership of the party. Really? In 2024, we're still pushing that dotage talk. So it's not about competence, it's not about ability. It's about who they're the longest, who they're 20 years and 15 years, and you figure that they serve their time, and so therefore they must step up to leadership. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? No wonder why I could call your party hopeless, because if that is the thinking of somebody who's the deputy political leader of a party that aspiring to lead this country come 2025, yeah, no hope there. Well, you could rock so with that ship talk. Go so with that. Right? That is PNM's business. And in due course, the PNM will make a decision as to who the next leader will be. Oh, good. Hey, hello, good morning.
Dominic,
Leave it there.
what's going on?
All is well. What bacchanal you coming with this
It's your
morning?
boy.
Yeah, what bacchanal you coming with? Let me hear you.
Sis, good morning. Let me say good morning to my sister. I know she's listening now.
She needs to take away your
Dominic,
phone.
are you aware that during the pandemic, CARICOM leaders were distancing themselves from Dr. Rowley?
No, I am not aware of that.
Because every time we went on the platform, he used to be saying how our neighbors were using vaccines that were not sanctioned by the WHO.
Which neighbors?
Why he should be saying that about our neighbors?
Which neighbors he was saying that about? Because as far as I'm aware, there were only 2 countries that were getting vaccines, was Guyana and Barbados. Which neighbors was he talking about?
Well, you can include them, but that's
No,
what he
no,
used to say.
no, because Barbados
neighbors.
got this. Remember when Barbados got their vaccines? They sent 2,000 of those vaccines here, and Dr. Rowley accepted it. So he had no issue with the vaccines Barbados was using.
But before, he used to be saying our neighbors were using vaccines that were not sanctioned.
And he
by
was
the
speaking
WHO.
about Guyana, who was sourcing vaccines from Russia, which was not sanctioned by the WHO.
Well, that's the next point.
Okay, so be specific. Don't say our neighbors, plural. It was a neighbor, Guyana.
But that is what Dr. Rowley used, Anthony, what Dr. Rowley used to say, not me.
Okay.
Our neighbors were using vaccines that were not sanctioned by the WHO. That's what Dr. Rowley used to say.
Well, if Dr. Rowley was saying that, well, then the other countries that you said the leaders of CARICOM were distancing themselves from Dr. Rowley. But if the others who had no vaccines, no, he wasn't talking about them, they had no reason to distance themselves from him because he wasn't speaking about them. Go ahead.
But that is what he used to say.
So then why were the others? Well, then you started off your discourse by saying the leaders of CARICOM were distancing themselves from Dr. Rowley. The only other nation I know was complaining was Guyana when Dr. Rowley made a similar statement and he said we would not accept those vaccines. And the vice president of Guyana had something to say and the attorney general of Guyana spoke. I'm not aware of anybody else who distanced themselves, but you go ahead.
And that is when an official from Guyana put a blow out on him.
Who is the official?
And he had to send Avery Brown quick to talk to the Guyanese.
Really? And the borders were closed?
You're forgetting that, Dominic?
And the borders were closed? And Avery Brown went to Guyana? Really? When did that happen?
So you're forgetting an official from the Guyanese government put a blow out on Dr. Rowley?
But I just told you when Dr. Rowley made that statement, the vice president of Guyana, Bharat Jagdeo, and the attorney general of Guyana, who was seemingly pro-UNC, made comments and that were critical of Dr. Rowley. I said that. Nobody else criticized Dr. Rowley.
And he had to send Avery Brown quick to talk to the Guyanese.
Really?
So you know that, Dominic?
Avery Brown went to Guyana?
No, he made an apology.
Really? Okay, Dr. Rowley don't even.
So you didn't know that?
You didn't hear Dr. Rowley say that his best friend in Guyana and CARICOM is Irfan Ali. Why Irfan Ali didn't speak? Why didn't he say something as the president? Why was Bharat Jagdeo who said what he said?
His best friend is Ralph Gonzalez.
That is your perspective. Why didn't Irfan Ali say something about it? I like Bacchanal. Me.
You like to defend too much, and then you die the problem, and then you don't fall it up.
Downfall? Downfall? Okay. All right. Tell all over there, come good, you know. Come real good. 770-1763 is 843. I could probably take a couple more calls. Let's see. I feel like it's just anyway. I keep up to date with the things that are happening, because I know some of you will come with nonsense and the opposition will come with nonsense. Hey. Let me see. Rookman says Dr. Rowley has all of them naysayers to Tulbe. Yeah. So I was just reading that article there with Nunes, Teixeira, and them and the nonsense, right? About Stuart Young. I don't know where the Guardian get this article about Young in hot water. From who? The usual critics, the people who don't like Stuart Young, the people who always have nothing good to say about the PNM. I'll give you all an example. I read that article for you all earlier on about the government in advanced negotiations with Venezuela to acquire the Loran field, right? 7.2 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is just there. In fact, Venezuela flaring gas every day. The amount of gas that they're flaring is more than what we're producing for the day. That's to tell you that they're wasting gas. So it's literally money going up in smoke that we could use, and it's just there. Loran is just there. So I see no issues given the relationship that our government has with the Venezuelan government and so on, and the way things have been progressing. I see no issues in terms of them agreeing to that. So that is, and they will work out how the profits or the earnings will be shared and the like, right? And that is something good. Kevin Ramnaran, the former Minister of Energy under the UNC, always posting things on his Facebook page, and from time to time I tell you all. Yesterday he posted up an article about some final investment decision with respect to the production of oil and so on in the Guyana Suriname basin, right? Some oil and gas journal article. Post up that prominently, so all who visit his page can read that. You know that article that I just read for you all there about the government is in advanced negotiations to acquire the Loran field, which would significantly improve Trinidad and Tobago's economic stocks. He ain't published that. He ain't posted up that, I'm sure he saw it. I'm certain he saw it. But he's not interested in posting anything with respect to the Trinidad and Tobago energy sector unless it's negative. He will not post up anything. So articles like that, the article that spoke about the ship, the vessel that is going out there to do the surveys so that they could map out where exactly the pipeline is going to run from Manatee to the Shell platform and all of that. That is big news. Mr. Chance referenced it. Big news, right? Because the government is sitting down on their hands and waiting for the 2 years to run out. They're making progress quick. Shell doing what they have to do, and in no time flat is to get that off the ground one time, so that whatever the outcome of the elections in the US next year or whatever, even though Manatee is ours, so as Mr. Young would have told us, it doesn't matter what happens to the US election, Manatee is right? That 2.7 is our gas. So we are just going to monetize our gas, right? He ain't posted up that, that is not something he thinks is worthy. And the dragon gas and so on. No, he ain't putting up that. But everything to do with Guyana, he posting. Everything to do with Suriname, he posting. When understand these people don't have Trinidad and Tobago's best interest at heart. They don't. So long as the PNM is at the helm, they will not promote anything that is good news to people. They say, well, hey, the PNM doing thing by. Maybe we misjudge them. They're not doing that. So that you will avoid posting good news about the future of the energy sector of Trinidad and Tobago, because you figure that is going to give the PNM a fillip and ruin your party's chances of getting back into power, so that you could get another 5 years to sit down on your hands and collect pay under false pretense, cut ribbon and give speeches, right? And benefit from work that you've had nothing to do with. And I will keep saying, there is no negotiation, no gas deal that Kevin Ramnaran and Kamala Prasad Bissessa signed between 2010 to 2015 with all the concessions that they gave to the energy companies that we could look to and say, yes, the reason why we earning money in the energy sector today is because of this gas deal or because of that gas. I can't even find one, not one, to say we earning money today or we will start earning money in 2 years' time because of this. But in 3 years' time, we will be able to say that the country's energy sector has recovered because we're getting gas from Manatee, we're getting gas from Dragon, we're getting gas from, hopefully, Loran, we're getting gas from Kokina Manikin. Why? Because of what Stuart Young did, Keith Rowley did, Franklin Kahn did. But we can't say that about Sipasad Bechan, Prasad Bisesa, and Kevin Ramnarai. And I challenge any one of them. Where is Winston Bachelo? Where is James? Tell us now. Tell us, the party that you support, the leader that you support, tell us one thing that they did between 2010 to 2015 that has contributed positively to the energy sector in Trinidad and Tobago today. Tell us, we waiting. As the Minister of Planning said, I will sit down and give way for you all to tell me. Tell us one. Here what he says, Winston appears, but how we don't know the Dragon deal is a great deal when we don't know the intimate details of the profit sharing between Venice and Trinidad. And he thinks that is a profound statement. We don't know the intimate details of the profit sharing. Winston, let me explain something to you, right? Dragon gas, the Dragon field belongs to Venezuela, right? That is theirs, not ours. We have no shares in that. So it's like you have, your neighbor has a big avocado tree. The tree laden, it bearing, and all the avocados, you have none, zero. And the neighbor says to you, Winston, hey, what now? You know how old I can't really think. Come and climb that tree and pick some of them avocados somewhere, and you could go and sell it, and you get some, and we will split the money, even if it's 60-40, or however we split it, right? Is your neighbor avocados? Your neighbor didn't have to give you that opportunity. You could call anybody and give it to them. And you studying about intimate details about the profit sharing? Is Venezuela gas? What the hell? Is Shell who putting out the money for the infrastructure and so on, not us? Trinidad and Tobago, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is spending the least amount of money. The neighbor come and say, look, we have this gas field there that just sit down there for how much donkey years? Since 1983, they discovered, and it's just there. The gas just there. We flaring gas every day more than you all producing, and you desperately need. Come, all right, come. Take that field there. Monetize that gas, and we will split the profits. However it is. If we get 10%, 20%, it doesn't matter. You should be happy we get it any at all. They could have gone elsewhere. They could have given the contract to Repsol. They could have gone to some European company or something. They didn't have to look to Trinidad and Tobago. So all this rubbish about intimate details and we need to know. You don't need to know anything. What intimate details? How much money we putting out? Any money that the government of Trinidad and Tobago puts out, I am certain they're going to recover that in no time at all. So you want to dictate the pace of Venezuela to tell them how much, we must tell them how much profits we taking out from their gas? They're doing us a favor. They didn't have to do that. They could have said, you know what, leave it there. You watching the neighbor avocados. I say, neighbor, I see you have all them avocados there and they're dropping on the ground and they're just wasting and the birds picking it. Let me go and sell it for you. And the neighbor says, it's okay. It's all right. Let the birds pick it. That's okay. It's mine. You watch it and wish it well. And you talking about intimate details. Miss me with that nonsense now. Miss me. We don't know. This, and you know what? You know what he regurgitates in there? The foolishness that they're talking on the UNC Facebook pages about we don't know the intimate details. The same stupidness they came with Sandals. They want to know the details of the MOU and the intimate details and so on. At the end of the day, Sandals has the brand name. They have the product. We needed it. Right? They say, well, all they want to take all the intimate details and see how all they could boost tourism. We go on. They take the product and they went to St. Vincent. Today, St. Vincent benefiting not just from tourists coming into Sandals and on the island and spending money. They benefit from Sandals marketing St. Vincent and the Grenadines at no cost to the state. Because in order for people to come to Sandals to make money, they need people to come to St. Vincent. So they're not waiting for the government authorities. They're not waiting for the government authorities, tourism authorities to promote. They're going out there and negotiating with airlines to come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines at no cost to the state. That should have been us. A big airport building in Tobago that could accommodate 3 million passengers to the year. Who promoting it first? Not Sandals. Not Sandals, but all it wasn't studying the money that Sandals going and spend to promote, would have spent to promote Tobago. Right? The government wouldn't have had to spend that. But you know who Sandals promoting? Everybody else. Not Trinidad and Tobago. We're not on the list because it ain't had that here. But we want to know the details, and we want to know the details. What blasted details? What details all they want? All they don't want the details from the happiness campaign when Prasad Bisesa spent $20 million to to run a campaign to tell you and me what it means to be happy. You didn't want the details of that. You didn't want to know how much money Ernie Ross was getting for that campaign, but you want details about the Dragon Gas deal. And yeah, that's what you want details. The $175 million that they spent for Eden Gardens that was valued at 52. You didn't want details then as to how come the same company that they bought the land from for $175 million was advertising it on 2 real estate companies' sites for $400,000 a lot, but we at the government pay $664,000 a lot. You didn't want the intimate details as to how it went from $400,000 to $664,000. You didn't want details into that. You didn't want intimate details as to how it is an old Massey warehouse in Santa Rosa that the government, that Jack Warner told us, was offered to him by the late Mr. Dulal Whiteway, not the other one, for 17 million, and Jack said, that's too expensive, I'll give you 15. And he said no. And then somehow, the government went from it being offered 17 million to Jack Warner say so. The government paid over $200 million for that old warehouse to turn it into a prison. You didn't want the intimate details about that. How it went from 17 million to 238. You didn't want those intimate details. But you want intimate details about the profit sharing for Dragon Gas. Miss me with all your nonsense, eh? This stupid talk about intimate details and intimate details. Try and think for yourself instead of coming here to regurgitate nonsensical talking points of the UNC. Rubbish. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Dominic,
Zena.
that is why she could talk about, with the hope of getting back there, she could talk about stopping this tax on, that tax on, property tax on, the other taxes, because don't think they're sitting down there licking their chops and knowing when money goes start to roll in that time.
Yes.
But for all they paid and all what they say, you know how the kind of person Maduro is. Only be dreaming about it. And I cut everybody kicks. So let them sit down and feel that is what they're hoping to get back there. But there is a God and he's watching. Thank you.
Folks, I will not allow these people to set up my pressure this morning. Because if I go to read them comments, I might be here for another hour, right? Debunking the nonsense that they come with. They will never speak. You will never see Winston come on here and talk about all those things. 170 million. He didn't want the intimate details of how Kamala Persad-Bissessar spent $170 million with respect to expenses related to the office of the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's residence and diplomatic center. He didn't want intimate details about that, but he wants intimate details about the profit sharing for Dragon Gas. Yeah? Property that is not ours. Gas that is not ours. And we are fortunate that Venezuela has decided to say, here what? Let me work out something. Because we just had the gas sit down there, just there. How much donkey is it just there? We need the money, you need the money. We don't have the money right now to monetize it. You ain't had the money either, but you have the infrastructure and you have the connections with the major energy companies that have the money. So let me sit down and work out something now. But of course, it's my gas. It belongs to me. I don't want to do no business with you all. I could give it to anybody because I have plenty of people knocking our doors for it. But you all are closest and you're my friends, right? So let me work out something now. And you want the intimate details of the profit share. Really? Really, Winston? Intimate details, okay. Well, what the intimate details there were? File a freedom of information request. File a freedom if you want the intimate details. Why do you UNC file for it? Since they know very well how to file a freedom of information request, tell them file one. And then they could go on the pavement. They waste their time Sunday morning, half a question press conference, or the Monday night forum, and they could come and give you all of the intimate details. But you know why they wouldn't do that? Because they're hoping they get back into office next year. They know the country's financial circumstance and they need Dragon. All the old talk about Dragon care dance, their fingers crossed in the quietness of their home. Or when they lie, man, their fingers crossed, so we need Dragon. Yeah, let Rowley and Stuart Young continue to negotiate. They're happy. All the choppy talk, you feel that they're happy the progress that is being made. So they just want Stuart Young and Keith Rowley go ahead. All them do the negotiations, get the investments from the energy companies, and when we come in, just hand it to us on a platter, and we will enjoy the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to be earned, and we will spend it like crazy. We will thief like crazy. We will give a few handouts to the plebs who like to say they thief, but they do. So we will give them $500 a month baby grant to make child, and we will bring back Colony Orange, so that we will paint these dilapidated buildings that Rowley and they want to demolish and rebuild, so that the people of East Port of Spain could live in better conditions. We will just paint the outside and fool them and offer it to them for another $100. Yeah, we will do that. So we will pretend that we're not pleased, but we're pleased. Let them do the work that we weren't able to do for the 5 years. That Dragon Gas was there and Manatee was there and Lauren was there since 1983. And we couldn't do anything between 1995 to 2001. Come back in 2010 to 2015 and still couldn't do nothing. And within 3 years of Stuart Young becoming minister, well, it started under Franklin Can and so on. In 9 years, Keith Rowley was able to do what could not have been done for over 4 decades. So we will criticize them, we will downplay it. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, behind the scenes, we're happy to have them continue to do the work, and we will reap the benefits should the citizens play fast and loose with their vote and put them back in office. Yeah, and you all will get the pittance. They will fool all, they know what to do. Give laptops, not proper laptops, you know. We'll get them cut-rate laptops so we can get contracts to fix it. They have invented new ways to thief. That's what they do. Kamala and UNC are not in power, the PNM, so we have to ask these questions, monitor where the money is going. Those are the questions people should know, regardless of political affiliation. Really, Winston? Really? The PND UNC is not in power. You know, that is, you know, when you all come with that dotish talk about the UNC is not in power. The UNC is not in power, but they are aspiring to get back into office. They're aspiring to get back into office. Right? And it's like a woman who in a relationship, and the man that she have now and treating her right, and somebody else caught her on the side, and she looking to leave the man that she with to go with the man outside. And you're not asking questions about the man outside, you know. No. You're not asking questions. What is his background? What does he do? What is his history? You're asking questions. You're focusing the man that she with, he no good. So yeah, we happy. Get rid of he. Right? And his only problem might be he working too hard and he ain't making enough time for the woman or whatever it is, and she feels neglected. Yeah, get rid of he. That guy, that caught in there, yeah. And then she leave the guy she with to go with the guy that she caught in. And here you, well, the same thing, let's say, you know, is the PNMS, don't focus on the UNC. Right? The UNC was there before, they have a history. So when all they want to come and talk nonsense about the PNM and power, now we have to ask this. Don't ask no questions of them. You wouldn't interrogate the manifesto. The same manifesto where they promised to devalue the TT dollar. You ain't gonna talk, we're not focusing on that. The PNM and power now. But when the UNC come back in power, if all they put God out all they thought, and they start to do the things that they in the manifesto, and they devalue the TT dollar and pressure in all your ways, the cost of living skyrocket, inflation going up. I hope you will see it talk, come with that same stupid talk. I will be right here to remind you, you said the PNM in power, not the UNC. So don't focus on the UNC, focus on the PNM. And meanwhile, the UNC put out what they were going to do, but you were so focused on the PNM in power, you weren't looking at what they were offering and how they come in and drop it on your vex. No, take it. Take it. And what was it what I like to do? Take what? Bend over and take it. No grease. Just like when the $11.625 million man took the umbrella and rammed it up all your K-Packs when he increased the price of premium from $4 to $5.75 in one shot. Right? No grease. You forget that? At least, yeah, all I want to talk about Imbut increased the price of fuel, but Imbut gave it to you all in increments. He say, hold on 50 cents now. And then he will come back the next year and say, okay, hold on another 75 cents. But then hit it to you one shot from $4 to $5.75. Let's say, thank you, Master. Can I have some more? Thank you, sir. Can I have some more? Well, you're real good, yes? Really, really good. Talking about that's like saying, well, it's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in power now, not Donald Trump. So don't focus on Donald Trump. Don't focus on what Trump's saying. Don't focus on what Trump doing. Focus on Harris and them. And we had to ask questions and we want to know where the money going. But you weren't asking those questions, Winston, when it is that the money was going. All the things are called out just now. You're asking questions. We want to know. Did you ask questions as to how it is the balance in the exchequer account went from 10 billion in overdraft to 33? Have you ever asked that question where that $23 billion went? When according to Kamala, they earn the highest revenue in the highest energy revenue in the country's history. So with all those revenues, you still put the exchequer account into permanent overdraft by 23 billion. You ever asked for intimate details as to what that money was spent on? Winston, you ever asked that? You're not interested in that. No. Kamala Persad-Bissessar talking about promising the sun, the moon, and the stars, and saying, but when she comes in, she's going to reduce corporation tax by half. You're asking for intimate details as to where the revenue is going to come from? If it is that you're going to cut government's tax revenue from the corporate sector by half, how are you going to make up for that lost revenue? You're asking them for intimate details? No. We go wait until they get into office and then we're going to ask that, right? After the horse has bolted from the stable. But I keep telling you all, your vote is non-refundable. You can't go back to the EBC and say, I make a mistake and go back my vote. You could try it. Let's see. Let us know how that works out now. There's something wrong with Toles. You know, is that bad? Them could vote. They have a right to vote just like the rest of us. And that is the mindset that they go into the polls with. That's the mindset they go into the polls with. Yes, Charles Corbyn, devaluation. UNC, it's in their manifesto. They don't support the dirty float, as they call it, right? Using the country's foreign reserves to prop up the exchange rate. So they said that they are going to stop that, which is what the government is doing now. So we're going to stockpile foreign reserves, right? So they get in US taxes in US dollars, and they plan to stockpile it so that the country's foreign reserves could go back up and they could boast, look, we have the highest foreign reserves, 12 billion, 13 billion. And how are we achieving that? By allowing, according to them, their words, they are going to allow the exchange rate to slide, what they call it, within a crawling band. So allow it to slide because the experts say it should be 8 and 9 and 10 TT to 1 US. They're going to do that. And then because the cost of a US dollar is going to be so expensive, people will demand less. And therefore demand for US dollars will fall. And we would be able to stockpile. So you had the money sit down in the central bank. The citizens need it, but we don't care. We don't care. We just want to see it rise and rise to 15 billion and 20 billion. 4 and 5 years of import cover, and we can see under us it was the highest. Yeah, it's in the manifesto, but no regard for the fact that when you do that, imports are going to, the cost of imports will increase. So all the food import bill that is 7.3 billion now, and they're crying about it, that when they devalue the TT dollar, it would go up to what? 12 and 13 and 14 billion TT dollars. And when you all could buy 5 and 6 of an item now, you'll only be able to buy 3. But that is what Winston and them want. That's what they want. But he ain't asking no intimate details about that. He ain't asking about that. Anyway. Folks, it's after 9. Let me go and do my work. Let me make sure that I work so that I could stockpile my money. So if people like Winston and them play fast and loose with their votes and put Kamala back and they devalue and all of that and the cost of living skyrockets, I will still be good. He ain't gonna be good. I'm not sure about that. Now, me, I'm gonna just tell him, I have options, right? I have options. I don't have to stay here. To put him back, I don't have to stay here for the 5 years. I have options. Not so sure that he does. Folks, enjoy your day. Make it a productive one, as I always say, and we will chat again on Thursday morning, God's willing. BC Gray, Joycelyn Smallmite, Helen Batiste. And yes, Helen, assignment 2025. Kurcho says UNC, if we give them a chance, will demolish our country because of the loss of power and greed, and definitely will end up in IMF hands, of course. Because when if they get back into power, and understand something, if you're thieving money, it doesn't matter the cost of living, you know. Because you have money, you could afford it regardless of what it is, what the cost is. So they don't care. The 30-something of them who would be in the cabinet and who earning the salary and who collecting bag of money on the side and have more than enough money that they could afford to build up a whole wing of a house and then break it down and rebuild it. It doesn't matter what things cost because they have the money and they could afford it. But there's all your chuppies like them who want to vote and put them back into office, not asking intimate details about what their plans are, and then coming to gripe for 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, you're looking back to the PNM now. Come and save us. Come and fix what the UNC mash up now. Come and fix it. All right. Charles says unemployment equal UNC. So right. Folks, we'll chat again on Thursday morning, God's willing. Supposed to have some rain today, so stay safe on the black carpet. Yeah, and we hopefully we live to chat another day. Yes, Elizabeth, PNM all the way. We're on the home stretch, Alicia. Vote PNM, correct. And forget all the old talk and the noise about, they're talking about leadership in the party and we want this one and we want that. We don't want that one. That would be sorted out. The membership of the PNM will deal with that, right? Not Karen, not Ralph Maraj, not Winford James, and all the rest of them who want to put in their 2 pence. Tell them keep that. Find a piggy bank somewhere and put it in there. The PNM don't want it. Right? We go there. Thursday, folks.